In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to obtain the capacitance readings that are measured during a protocol when it's running. So here we're going to quickly calibrate the sheet capacitance of the chip that I currently have inserted. So we'll turn on real-time mode, turn on an electrode just to ensure that liquid is completely covering this electrode. We'll right-click and select Measure Liquid Capacitance. What that does is it measures the sheet capacitance of the chip where it's covered by liquid. And this shouldn't change based on the liquid that's used, except in some very rare cases. But for the vast majority of cases, the capacitance that we're measuring is not a property of the liquid. It's merely a property of the dielectric on the chip and the amount of the actuated electrode that's covered with the liquid. Okay, so we've now calibrated the sheet capacitance for the device. Now let's execute a protocol where we'll just move a drop to another spot on the chip on one step, and we're going to set the timeout duration to 15 seconds for each actuation along the route, and we're going to set the volume threshold to 95%. So only continue moving on to the next actuation in the sequence once the 95% threshold has been reached. Then I'm going to move on to the next step, create a new step by clicking Next. I'm going to use the same parameters here, except I'm going to move back to our starting point, just so it makes it easy so we can run the protocol repeatedly if we want. Now, we can select the first step then and press play, and we can see the actuation will proceed as fast as possible while making sure that we reach 95% of the expected volume before continuing on to the next actuation. While these actuations are happening, we're collecting many repeated capacitance measurements that the result is being shown in real time in this dialog, but we're also logging those capacitance values to a CSV file. And to access that comma-separated value file that can be opened in Excel, for example, you can click on Open, and this will open the experiment log data for the current experiment. And so when you see after we execute a protocol and it asks if you want to start a new experiment, that determines whether or not you're going to just keep adding and appending to the current experiment, or if you want to create a new experiment to separate your results. For example, if you're running the same protocol with multiple times with different samples, or you've inserted a new chip, then you can create a new experiment just to keep the data isolated for your own benefit. Now, if we want to access the capacitance data that was recorded, we can look under the Dropbot plugin directory, and there's this data.csv.gzip file. I would recommend, if your version of Windows can't open this directly, you can also download 7-zip, which is a free program that allows you to open compressed files in the gzip format. Once you double click on that, then you'll be able to open the file using Excel or your software of choice. This is a simple table that includes a column that's it's a timestamp in Greenwich Mean Time, and the second column is the capacitance measured. Then we also have the actuation voltage that was used on that step, and we have the channels that were actuated during this measurement, followed by the area that was actuated. if we select these two columns, so the timestamp and the capacitance, we can then plot this data, just to show you an example. Let's select a subset just so we can get some clearer data here. So we'll go to the end. Let's just look at the second step here. Okay. So select these two columns and we'll insert chart. So this shows for each actuation on the second step, this is when we've got the electrode 111 turned on. It was mostly covered when we started. Then we turn on electrode 106. We see the capacitance goes up until we've reached our threshold, at which point we turn on the next electrode, and then that electrode isn't covered by liquid, so the capacitance is low. And then it increases until we reach the threshold, turn on the next electrode, and that repeats until the step is completed. So this demonstrates how we can view the capacitance values that are recorded during the execution of a protocol.